Hey, what's going on everyone? Romeo here. In this video, I want to talk about the graded reader, specifically Spanish graded readers or leveled readers. I want to talk about this because maybe you're a person that enjoys reading, or even if you don't enjoy reading, you're looking for a way to get in a bunch of comprehensible input. Well, the graded reader is specifically created to allow you to do that at your Spanish level, whatever that level is. So I want to talk about what the graded reader is, how it's different than other books you may come across. I want to dive into a graded reader to let you see what one is all about. I want to tell you who the major publishers are in this industry. And then I want to share with you how I actually use them. And last, I'm going to give you a word of caution if you decide to use the graded reader. So first, I'm going to bring up my 2025 tracker that shows all the books, at least all the graded readers that I read in 2025. So this spreadsheet here is my spreadsheet. I pretty much try to track everything that I do towards my Spanish fluency. And this spreadsheet here tracks the graded level reader series Leer en Español that I did in 2025. For some reason, I started with level 2. And then eventually I stopped, but then I got back into it in May of 2025, and I read all the books in the intro series, all the books in level 1, all the books in level 2, level 3, level 4, and then I stopped at level 5 and level 6. So why I did that is not what this video is about, because then this video will be too long. But let's talk about what the graded reader actually is. So the graded reader, which is different than other books that you may find, if it's a graded reader, it adheres strictly to a framework. And that framework is the Common European Framework or Reference Framework for second language acquisition. So essentially what the graded reader does is it breaks down its series of books, and they may have 30 or even 50 books. They break down their series of books into different levels. So specifically, since I'm more in tune with the Leer en Español graded reader, I'm going to talk about what they do and how they proceed with their books. But you can pretty much apply this to all the other graded readers who are publishers in this industry. So Leer en Español, they break down their graded readers into different levels. Their levels specifically contain an introductory level, a level 1, which has less than 400 words, level 2, less than 700 words, a level 3, less than 1,000 words, level 4, level 5, and level 6. And that's exactly what my spreadsheet shows here. Now, specifically within each level, there are several books that you could purchase. But what distinguishes their levels is the level of grammatical concepts that they introduce, as well as the number of words that they have. If I recall correctly, the introductory level only uses the present tense, but the story is a full story in the present tense. Level 1 and level 2 uses the past tense, which includes the preterite and the imperfect tense, and level 3 adds more complex structures or uses all the tenses, including the subjunctive use. And then as you get into level 4, level 5, it also uses all the different grammatical structures that you could come across in the language. Now, another thing that's pretty cool about the graded reader is that it tries to use the same word in different contexts. And that way, when you see the word, you're not just thinking that that word can be said one way. Like you will see it said in two ways, for example. So the last thing that I will say about these graded reader series is most, if not all of them, comes with an audio version of the book. And so this series specifically, when I purchased it, or if you buy one of their books on eBay or maybe used somewhere, they come with a CD. Once you get the book and the CD, you can read the book, and then you can also listen to the CD at the same time or listen to the audio of the book And the audio is actually, it's pretty good. It's not narrated like it's a robot or something. So now that I explained what the graded reader is, specifically for this series, let's dive into one of the books of the introductory level. And we're going to dive into Cuando Mac conoció a Mac. And so this is one of their books, and it is in the introductory level, and it has only the present tense. So here's what the book looked like. I scanned all my books in. Again, another story for another day. This is book 5 in their introductory series. So you can see here that it says it's the introductory series. And if you go into the book, it has chapters, it has activities, it has solutions to those activities, and it has vocabulary. And it's a full-blown book. Here's chapter 1. And chapter 1 for the introductory series, it's not too long. It's like about 5 pages. And then here's chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, all right, chapter 5. So this book specifically is only 21 pages long. And then if you wanted to actually hear what the audio of this book sounds like, let's go into that. So again, here's chapter 1, and I'm going to bring up the audio just so you can hear what the audio could potentially sound like when you pick up one of these books.
Capítulo 1. Mac Taylor. Son las 2 de la tarde. Un grupo de turistas están llegando en autobús a un bonito hotel de la costa en la isla de Pascua.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos.
Repite una empleada a los turistas que entran en el hotel.
Muchas gracias. Es usted muy simpática. ¿Cómo se llama?
Yo, Aurora Martín.
Contesta con voz tímida.
Yo me llamo Mac. Encantado. Es un día perfecto para pasear por la playa.
So now that we saw what one of the introductory books looks like, let's go into a level 3 book. So level 3, one of the books that I read, by the way, I read all of these books twice, but one of the books in level 3 is a version of Don Quixote de la Mancha. So Don Quixote de la Mancha is a book that's famously known in the Spanish literature community. And so they have book 1 and book 2, and they have a leveled reader version of both those books. So let's go into book 2 of Don Quixote de la Mancha. So here's book 2 of Don Quixote de la Mancha, and it shows here that this is level 3. And so, like I said before, level 3 introduces the past tense, and I believe it also starts to use more complex structures in the subjunctive. So here's level 3, and this book has 104 pages of story, or 124 pages of the story, and it also has, 29 chapters. And if you go into chapter 1, this chapter still is about 5 or 6 pages, but as you can see, the text is smaller, so there's more words in this book. And just like the introductory level for this book, it also has an audio version. So just like the introductory level of the book, if you wanted to, you can go through the activities. The activities are actually linked to each of the chapters. They have a before you read the book section. Then they have activities that you should do as you're reading the book, and they are broken down by the different chapters. And if you go further in, it has the solution to the chapters. Also, these graded readers, they do their best to try to prompt you by giving you the vocabulary that you probably don't know at your specific level. Specifically, this book has, let's say, more than 150 different notes that try to give you the definition of words that you may not know, but it's all in Spanish. So if we go back to chapter 1, El cura y el barbero visitan a Don Quixote. Let's go to page 7. As you can see, they use indirect object pronouns. It uses the past tense. It uses querían. It uses the imperfect tense. And then as you go more into the book, you will encounter the subjunctive tense. So that's the idea behind a graded reader. And now that we've discussed what graded readers are, let's talk about who the major players are in the graded reader industry. So here's a table and an actual document that I put together using AI that explains more about the graded reader process and who the major players are. And I'll be sure to link this document in the description of this video, but it actually shows who the graded reader publishers are. So the one I showed you was from Santillana, and their series was called Leer en Español and has over 30 books. And of course, it talks about the key features. Also, in this document, it tells you exactly how they grade their books. So, for example, Santillana, kind of like I explained, has the audio recordings, and then the word count increases progressively. And then it goes on to explain, as far as the grammar goes, the introductory starts with simple structures, cognates, present, and the preterite tense. And then level 1 adds the preterite, perfect, and perfect tense. Level 2. So the major players are Santillana and Black Cat. And if you go on their websites, this is what they would look like. Here's Santillana, and most of the graded readers that they have in publication right now. Same thing with the Black Cat. Here are most of the graded readers that they have based on their levels. A1. So if I dive into A1, it shows all the different Spanish graded readers that they have. And then if you really wanted to, you can find these books. If you look up the title, you can find them used on Amazon or eBay or something like that. And that way you can actually purchase all the books and then build your own personal collection. Now, how did I use the graded readers? Again, I showed you how I read all of these books in 2025. If I did the calculations, I probably spent about $300 on all of these books. And it took me a series of trial and error to try to find all the books. Some of the books I was like, no, I'm going to save some money and I'm going to purchase the books used, but then the book will come used. And because it was used, there was either highlighting in the book or the book will be missing the CD. So then eventually I was like, okay, I'm only going to purchase the books brand new. That way I ensure that it wouldn't have any highlightings, markings, and that the CD came with it. And then on top of that, I had to take the CD, put it in my computer, burn the CD, make the audio file, and then I had to find a player that would play the audio files for me. So it was a huge process. So that said, if you go back into the graded reader document that I have, one of the people that you may know is Ollie Richards. And Ollie Richards here has his series called Teach Yourself Spanish. And so I looked into his book briefly, and the one that I looked at, the one that's called Beginner Spanish, and just like it says in this document, right, it uses short stories, mostly the present tense for the beginner, and then the intermediate adds the past tense, and then if you want his advanced books, then it has a range of grammar. So you can probably just start there. Now, all of that said, hopefully this has been very instructive, especially since I'm going to add this document to this video. The word of caution that I would say is that graded readers are great, and you can acquire a lot of vocabulary, but my opinion is that reading is still a passive process. And so you can come across words that you don't know, you look those words up, but if you don't see them again, then you may forget them. So if you don't take an active role in actually doing something to jot down the vocabulary and try to recall that vocabulary every once in a while, then it may defeat the purpose of using a graded reader to acquire more vocabulary. So that's all I would say about that. Another word of caution is to choose your graded readers carefully, because depending on where you're from, you may or may not be used to, let's say, the vosotros form. So I believe Ollie Richards' books all are written in the UK region or the Spain region, and so they use a lot of the vosotros form of address as opposed to ustedes. And if you're not used to hearing that because you've never studied it, because you studied Spanish that primarily was regional to Latin America or the Caribbean, then that will probably throw you off. And the last thing that I would say is, if you're not comfortable reading yet, then I don't think graded readers is the way to start. If you're not yet comfortable reading, then you should start with the book that I recommend, which is Complete Spanish Step by Step, because there's a lot of readings within that book and you're going to learn about the grammatical structure of the language at the same time. So when you eventually graduate to a graded reader, you're not going to be caught off guard when you see the subjunctive in context, or you're not going to be caught off guard when you see something like the conditional or any other tense that you're not used to. Like, don't let a graded reader be the thing that teaches you your grammar. Like, use a book to learn the grammar. I have much more to say about graded readers or reading in particular, but I'm not going to put that in this video because this video will be way too long. But hopefully this clears up what graded readers are. And if it did for you, go ahead and give this video a like, and good luck on your journey to find whatever publisher that you decide that you want to use. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer more questions about my experience with graded readers. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because I have lots more to say about studying Spanish in general. And if you know someone that also is interested in graded readers, make sure you send this video to them. Until the next video, remember, Spanish is all about just showing up every day, doing something to move yourself closer to fluency. Peace.